good knowledge that people want to see it. And here, typically, this is what it looks like today. This is the grazing part of the ground, and you can see this is the sort of turf that now exists on that ground. Another view, you can see some of the dew ponds in the background, and the farmer at this site has got another 120 acres, and he's obviously increased his flock as well, consequence of this job. And we also, this is a dew pond, and I was telling you that we create moorland. You can see typical moorland in front. We put it around these dew ponds. That actually wasn't the first effort we made at landscaping around this pond, because the landowner convinced me that I had to grow some heather to put around the ponds. And if anybody's got any knowledge of heather, it is very, very difficult to grow. It's an odd shrub, and it sort of likes to grow where it wants to grow. And sometimes you put it places and it doesn't grow at all. But in this case, it didn't grow. We had to come back, and we then put upland species around the ponds. So here's the two tips from Bedwas. We've got Thomas here, and we've got Bedwas over here, all the residential areas. The lower tips sit up above on the steep land, and the upper tip, which is bigger, is the tip that the coal board predominantly made, and this one was predominantly made by the coal owners. This tip is consolidated, so it's really not in theory it's a very stable tip. This tip hasn't been consolidated, and so it would accept water much easier, similar to the way that it did it up above. This is our operational part of the site, and basically what's going to happen is the tips at the bottom are going to go up onto this piece of land, which is relatively level, and then this piece of land down here, the contours will match the contours to the land either side, and so we'll create a patchwork of fields in here, and we're offering some amenity value to the council, or be it, we've made some suggestions, and we're waiting for some replies as to what, if we go ahead, they would like to do with that land, because there are a few alternatives. It could even be rewilded, because we have rewilded areas. Well, we did a section at 6 Bells, but we're just waiting to get some feedback, because we only met the council 2 or 3 weeks ago to discuss that. And that's what that bottom land would look like. The contours will flow through, but it's 1 in 3. That's 1 in 3 to 1 in 3.5. It's a very steep incline, and you're looking at about 1 kilometre when you look at that map there, to give you some idea. And there they are. There's the tip sitting on the mountainside, and you can just see the upper tip on the top. Sorry, can we just go back? One of the things I will point out too is that on the bottom tip, we've got these corridors of scrubland, which you can see are small trees. That seems to, it wasn't there when the coal board abandoned the mine, so they must have been using it or did something with it, I don't know. But it's been allowed to grow since, and there's more scrub at the front. And for you to understand, scrub ultimately turns into woodland. That's because when it initially starts to get various species on it, the species tend to be the low-growing ones, small trees, but in the course of time, you'll get acorns delivered and beech nuts, and what happens then is ultimately the big trees take over from the little trees. And if that land is left, which it will be because we don't intend to touch the corridors either side, if that land is left, that land will probably, in another 100 years' time, it'll probably be much more looking like mature deciduous woodland. On the top of the site is where all the spoil will go, and what happens here is this is the existing tip, and the existing tip will be excavated in that direction, and then soils brought back over it as we go along, and this tip has to go up about 1 metre in height. And on this new land up here, where the tips from the bottom on the steep slope go, they will go on a site, and in the middle it'll be about 10 metres higher than it is at the moment. but again, that'll be covered over with soil, and it'll be grassed to upland grassland. And that's a picture of where that will go. It's at quite a bit lower than the height of this is the upper tip, first level, goes higher than that again, and this land where the spoil from the bottom tip will go, that is quite a bit lower, but it'll come up obviously nearer the height of the top tip. The top tip is it's currently about 380 metres. Just as another piece of something to understand, is that the tree line in the Welsh valleys, the deciduous tree line, it sort of operates at between 380 and 400 metres, meaning that deciduous trees don't really grow or grow stubbily above that height. So there's no really mature trees on this ridge and on most ridges, but there are exceptions because, for instance, at Man Moyle, one of the large estates at some stage planted a lot of beech trees. And beech trees is one of the few tree species, deciduous tree species, that will grow above the normal tree line, but it takes hundreds of years for them to become something, but now they are something. If we planted deciduous woodland up here at the moment, it would probably, in our lifetimes, we wouldn't see anything else. We're offering, down the bottom end of the site, we're offering to CCBC some ideas. These are just ideas, and not there's nothing, no tablets in stone. But we're offering potentially to have maybe some rhododendron, azalea walks. We'll plant some trees, perhaps a community orchard. This is all in the area of the bottom tip. As we said, the top tip will return to upland grazing. We'll be building new dew ponds on the site. And we're going to do some conifer planting. We don't mean the forestry type conifer planting. We mean this sort of mixed shrub planting. So it's more for visual aspects. And also from our point of view, we're going to put it in the areas where we would like to see if we can get a little bit more water absorption. And then we're going to create some walking trails across the tips. And lastly, we're going to put some, there are already an odd viewing point here and there around the Bedwas Tip area, and we're going to recreate some of that, and we're going to see what we can do. There are some burial mounds on the top near the tips. We will stay away from those and we'll protect them, and we're going to see if we can do anything to improve it, and we're going to talk to Carol about that. And so that's what the bottom area will look like with the tips gone from there. It will be a patchwork of fields to represent, to match in with the fields either side. I don't know, it's not our land. We are not landowners. We have no development to carry out or wish to do. But CCBC, may want to rent that land. They may want to offer it as their own farm. I don't know. And then we're offering to create trails across the land. We put a square there, perhaps an orchard. And around this pond, we want to open this pond out and create some kind of amenity feature or a feature on the land. And the upper tips, this is a bit of landscape work. At the moment the ridge line is here, but this tip currently runs up a little bit. What we want to do is we want to make the ridge line, which we'll put a stone road across the tip, we want to make the ridge line go through the middle of the tip, and by doing that, it'll mean that when you look at it from your eye, it'll look like the ridge is in the middle of the tip. And the benefit of that is, it will make the tip blend in better with the landscape and into the landform, and so it will make it look more like it's part of the original ridge of the land, rather than at the moment the tips are built so that they sit against the ridge and then they come out flat and they dip very severely. And that brings all sorts of problems, because the flat part of that tip is black. It is black because the tip is compacted and there is no way for the water to get away. The water also sits with little nodules of ironstone in it, and that becomes acidic. And so the grass, there is no grass growing on the top of that tip. We need to re-landscape the land. We need to get the tip running off in every direction and re-establish the grass. and the same principles will be applied for the area that is common ground, and the common ground we will be regrowing from the rootstocks the same species and habitat that currently exists. That's it. That's my little tell you what the plan is. I know the most controversial part of what you want to talk about is coming.
How are you planning to get it out?
How are we planning to get?
Yeah,
We're just about to go to that.
That's what this gentleman is about to tell you.
Can I ask you a question first?
Yes.
Where you plan on putting that big tip across that bit of common as well as the Bedwas tips, do you?
The large tip, no, it
Yeah.
stays where it is. We just reland.
So why do you need to go up that high then? Why not just
Why
stay
do you
on
need
the
to go 10
Bedwas
metres
side?
then?
No, that tip doesn't go up 10 metres, it goes up 1 metre.
But why not do everything on
No,
Bedwas?
no.
Guys, can we come on to it? Trust me.
Where the common ground is,
I'm
that's
conscious of time.
the common ground is taking the tips that are on the bottom. So they have to rise 10 metres. Right? Go on to the common ground. But where the main tip is currently, all that needs to go up is 1 metre.
No. Yeah, you don't fucking live here. We do.
Right, guys, so what this particular section is a much more focused section on lots of the comments and concerns that have been raised from this particular community, particularly around the Hall route, as we know. But what I first wanted to do is, as part of this section, I've been receiving lots and lots of correspondence now from many, many people, from many, many different sources, being told what this project is doing. Yeah, there are many, to me, things that need clarifying. There are aspects of this project that have been sold out in your community that I don't think are true. And I just want to clarify what we've always said about this project, because a lot of the stuff that was said, we never made those statements. We published our documents before we started this public consultation at the time on the website, and those documents have not really changed since we published them. So the information has been consistent in all of those documents. Now I know those documents are a difficult read, so we produced, in response to a lot of questions, an information paper. And that information paper, funny enough, was produced by me, based on a lot of the responses I'd received, because I was getting a lot of correspondence that was perhaps distorting what the project was done. For whatever reason, I don't really bother. I think for me, it's about clarifying the situation. So the first thing I do is invite you to have a look at the information paper. It's published on our website. The first part of it talks about the project principles, and it summarises in very short bullet points those project principles. The second part of that information paper talks specifically about the Hall Road and the assessment of the Hall Road routes, which again I produced. So the first thing was really the project. So the longest length of this project I've been told we are delivering is 15 years. I get on average 12 years. I've also received 11 years, 10 years, 9, 8, 7, 6. Unfortunately, it's not really hit the one that we're actually doing, which is the main project works for a 5-year working period. Can we come to the end?
No, because I feel that I need to clarify something. You say that there's lots of misinformation. Can I just
No, I
say...
didn't. I said there's points of clarity.
All right, then call it what you want. But I just want to say that Jan and I have been excluded from meetings where Bedwas councillors have been invited along to consultations.
Yeah.
So if we were involved sooner, then maybe there wouldn't be this misinformation, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, it's a difficult one. It genuinely is a difficult
But I
one.
think
When we did the presentation in December to you,
But I feel that
we said the main
I feel that
project
you're
works.
a little bit disingenuous here.
Not particularly.
I feel that you are.
Not particularly.
How difficult
I know
is
you
it
feel that
sending
way.
Yeah.
The presentation that we've done, that first half of the presentation that we've done was presented to both Bedwas, Thomas and the Valley's
Why was it done
councillors.
to us?
One second. It was done back in December. The first half of this presentation is a crib of that original presentation that we did.
So why didn't we do
Now,
a
on the
presentation?
guys, can I ask a favour? Can I run through this first, please? So we can just go through, because I'm coming up to lots of questions.
As long as you
No,
don't
I'll
shoot
get
off
asked.
mind when, as soon as you finish your talking, and don't let us ask any questions, because there's quite a few questions you need to answer.
We left last night. We left last
That's all right,
night.
I just letting you know, you can finish your presentation,
Thank you.
but give us plenty of time to ask questions. That's all
I
I want to know as well.
Genuinely, last
All right?
night we were in
That's
Bedwas.
okay, it's one for the
I left the
sake of
Bedwas. I left the Bedwas consultation event last night at 10:30.
I'm
The last
not
person-
interested in bed.
I'm here for as long as you need me to
They
be
can take
to
it
answer the
over.
questions that you need to be answered. Trust me, we've said 8 o'clock on the brochure. It never ends at 8 o'clock, right? There's always more questions, especially where there's contentious issues around a project. So rest assured, let me go through this.
It's not his fault, it's the council's fault. don't want it, but the council take the rubbish
a
out.
consultation with the Bedwas and then come up with you just before December. That
No,
was
in December.
in December, right, okay. But there was consultations prior to that in June and July last year, and Bedwas councillors, AMs and MPs and council officers, town councillors went to Six Bells. They also were consulted because they was on a cabinet paper that went to the council.
Yeah.
We were oblivious to it, and it wasn't until we had a letter from yourselves in the end of November,
Yep.
but didn't actually say or state you were coming over outside of the mountain. The engineer were oblivious still. I remember her saying, should we look into this? Is there anything to do with us? Would you look at this page, this letter? You know,
Thing is, they've just said it's from 2012, haven't they? They first got in contact with it, the council got in
yes, well,
contact
we
with
don't
it.
know about that.
So it's been going on for a lot longer than...
So I just wanted to put that straight, that any information you think of, I feel we've copied everything very accurately because we've read all your information papers over and over again. So we're taking things, and I think a lot of other people might be...
Do you want me to come on to that now?
Yes,
Yeah?
go on.
100%. So we've been developing this project for a number of years, okay? This project has a liability for our business of £40 million, right? The reclamation cost is £40 million for this project. Could even be more. It was estimated 10 years ago to be between 30 and 40 million by Cwmfelinfach. Yeah? In the 10 years since that estimate was done, we've seen around a 30% rise in material costs, if not more. 30% rise in inflation. 30% rise in contract costs. That includes things like fuel, that includes things like plant hire. So this is now more a 40 million, 45 million pound project. One second. Okay. In order to take on that risk, to relieve Cwmfelinfach of that cost, we have to get the coal off the hill. Okay. So we've been developing, one, is there enough coal to pay, to cover that 45 million pounds? Two, can I get the coal off the hill so someone can sell it to pay for this scheme? And of course, we're not going to do this work to relieve Cwmfelinfach of the cost of doing this, right? Which is fundamentally raised through council tax and central government funding, that would be. We're taking that liability off them. Now, furthermore, over the last sort of 10 to 12 years, Cwmfelinfach, in managing these tips alone, has spent nearly £12 million just managing the tips. That's the inspections of them, that's the drainage at the top, and they also had to do some stability works and regrading of the lower tip. So the benefits of this scheme, just on pure financial terms, are Cwmfelinfach doesn't have to at some point in the future pay the £45 million, which takes it away from council tax and their central services. They don't have to pay the cost of maintaining this, which over the last 12 years has been 12 million, nearly £1 million a year. So we as a business, we want to do this project. Of course we make a profit from it, we sell the coal. But we make a profit on it because we're also covering a £45 million risk here. Now I don't know anyone in this room that can honestly sit here and say that they will take on a £45 million project without having some sort of benefit come out of it. And the question is how much benefit do we get to? At the moment, what we know from the most pessimistic modelling that we've done commercially, we know we can cover, with the coal that's in these tips that we've been told about and tested so far, we know we can cover the reclamation cost. Furthermore, we do the reclamation in a stage form. So actually, the modelling of our business doesn't assume we do nothing, then reclamation. It assumes we sell the coal and reclaim, sell the coal and reclaim. And we do it in a staged process, like Steve's talked about. And last of all, we do need to get this coal off the mountain, and that's been the contentious point for us as well. Okay, so on the project programme,